Hey guys, Paul here. So today I was kind of just going to reflect on some interesting Yu-Gi-Oh experiences that I had recently. So this past weekend I attended DreamCon. It is the annual convention that is hosted by RDC World. Awesome event, really fun time. Shout out to those guys, it's great. There was a tabletop area so you could come and play Yu-Gi-Oh or other board games and card games and stuff. And it was great. Like Chris and Alec and I were there and we had a lot of fun. We dueled against people, fans, or just people who were interested and like kind of stopped by and wanted to try it out. And I was able to appreciate the wide breadth of Yu-Gi-Oh players that truly exist in this world. So on one hand, you've got, these very committed, competitive, just hardcore players. These are people who really follow the game, they follow the lingo, the jargon, they know when the next ban list is coming out, they know what the rarities of cards are in the next set, they know what the upcoming format's going to be looking like. They follow card prices, they know sort of the best combos, the common counterplays. If you say jargon like a hand trap, they'll know what that means. They're very tuned in. And that's cool. But then on the other hand, you've got players who literally pulled these cards out of their closet the night before because they heard there'd be a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh at this event. And, we're talking heavily played, vanilla, beat down, just old school 2002, 2003 deck with no real rhyme or reason. These people oftentimes aren't using card sleeves. These people don't have play mats. They don't know that there's like a ban list. Some of these people are surprised to hear that Yu-Gi-Oh is even like still played today. Like this is their first time engaging with Yu-Gi-Oh today. For some of these people, they're just like, oh, when the anime or TV show or whatever ended in like 2006 or something, that was just the end of Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh's done. I didn't know they still made cards. Didn't know that people like went to card shops and played. And there's like, regionals and tournaments and things like that. No one, like, it sounds crazy. And I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm saying that because it's something that it starts to make you appreciate, I guess, just the scope of it all. Because like ultimately we're all Yu-Gi-Oh enthusiasts. We like Yu-Gi-Oh for some reason or another, but it's just kind of crazy to see that wide variance in the types of people playing. And so sometimes when you play against them, it's fun and it like can lead to some really beautiful moments of like juxtaposition and contrast of like, new meets old, or I guess old meets new Yu-Gi-Oh. And it can also highlight some problems. But I wanted to just share like a handful of experiences, just memorable experiences from that past weekend that you can, I don't know, I'm gonna sort of ramble, it'll get somewhere eventually. So the first interesting thing was that I played against a guy who was using, it's an old set of cards he had. I think he just dug them up before the tournament. They were in sleeves. The sleeves were like oversized sleeves from somewhere, I don't know. They actually were of a lot of different types. Like there were some red sleeves and some blue sleeves. And I think he had the Magic and Trap cards sleeved in blue, and the monsters were sleeved in red. I didn't say anything. Obviously, it didn't matter. We weren't like playing in a tournament. We were just playing for fun. Just want to sit down and get the game in. So that was kind of like interesting. And I felt a little bad because his turns were so quick, right? Like he would set a monster and set 2 or 3 cards, and that's like his turn. And I was playing Cyber Dragons, which that was sort of the fun deck I decided to bring along. It's not, complete, just, Despia, Sword Soul, destroy everything, burn the earth type of deck. It's obviously not a meta deck, but I thought it'd be kind of cool, and plus people recognize it from the show. Cyber Dragon, Zane Truesdale, GX, pretty cool. As I'm playing my cards though, I start to realize, man, Yu-Gi-Oh cards really have a lot of text these days. Like, I mean, even my sort of simple plays, like normal summon Cyber Dragon Core and it searches a Cyber Spell and Trap, having to just sort of explain that, and like, then I pick up my deck and I search and like, I'm trying to shuffle and all that, and then I link it away. So now I have to explain sort of what a link monster is, and then like I activate my next card, like Cyber Repair Plant or something, and get a card back and like search, and then I have to use a Galaxy Soldier and pitch, and like its effect activates, Cyber Dragon Hertz's effect activates, and I'm doing all that. Then I make Cyber Dragon Nova, and then I use its effect, and then I overlay Infinity, which is technically like not a normal Xyz summon, it's like its own special rule, and then like I have to explain like, okay, so it's got materials, and it gains attack, and it can steal a monster, and it can negate a card once per turn. And even Cyber Dragon's a deck that's like, by today's standards, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. There's just a lot of explaining to do, and it just kind of was like funny. Now, what's cool is that most people, believe it or not, I know like, filthy casuals get a bad rap and they're always complaining about, modern Yu-Gi-Oh! They just want to play their caveman Yu-Gi-Oh! That's not always the case. This guy and many of the people that I met were totally cool with it. They're actually usually their first time playing against a new Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck they're having a lot of fun. They're impressed by how many summons that you can do, and just the sheer amount of like, like, whoa, that guy killed me in one turn. That's so cool. Now I guess if it happens over and over and over, I can see how somebody get pretty upset about that. But just at least at the start, I would say that it's just kind of neat to see people's reaction to what Yu-Gi-Oh is today. It can look really impressive. Other experiences I had though were, so there were some people who were buying or opening Yu-Gi-Oh packs. You could buy Yu-Gi-Oh packs at the vendor area of this convention, and a group of people were opening packs of Dawn of Majesty. They didn't know what came in this set. They just bought it because they were surprised to see that Yu-Gi-Oh cards are still made today. So they bought some. And they were opening Dawn of Majesty. Like, one guy, I guess, sort of knew it was like what he was looking for. He was looking to build a Stardust deck. And he needed to get Majestic Shooting Star Dragon, I believe is the one that's in Dawn of Majesty, or some long Stardust name. And he was like hoping to pull it. And it just kind of almost felt weird to me because like Majestic Shooting Star Dragon or whatever is a card that I actually have like 4 or 5 copies of. I open so many boxes on the regular of like, a new set comes out, and I'm a Yu-Gi tuber, I gotta open a bunch of boxes and stuff. I have like 4 or 5 copies of this card, and it's just not really worth like much of anything to me. When I was pulling them, I was like, oh, okay, like great, another one. But this guy is like hoping to get one to, complete his Stardust deck. I felt bad because if I had brought those cards with me, I probably would have just been like, here, take one. Like, please, like, you can have it. You don't have to like pay me or trade me. Like, you can just take the card. I like doing that. I like kind of being able to give new players, like just more casual players who are just looking for something, give them the card. But it was interesting to me that like they were opening this pack and like somebody, I think, pulled an Aliber and like didn't react. Like they didn't even like see it as like a secret rare. Like they're like, oh, this is kind of cool looking, like it's different, and they just put it down on the table. No sleeves, no anything. It was just kind of like really interesting seeing that juxtaposition, right? Another interesting story that happened this past week, and I uploaded a picture about this on social media as well. So there was a guy who showed up to play in one of the Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. We were just running a bunch of mini tournaments. Pulls his deck out of his pocket, no deck box, no sleeves, and he's playing against Alec, and because Alec and Chris were there with me, and so he's playing against Alec, and Alec is like shuffling his deck and sees a 10,000 Dragon in the deck. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, 10,000 Dragon, came out in what was one of the Battles of Legend sets from year before last. And like it's worth like $1,500. Super hard to pull. It's like 1 in every 2 cases. If you're like into Yu-Gi-Oh, you know kind of what this is. This guy is just casually using this $1,500 card that's extremely rare that he pulled a couple of weeks ago, he told us. Had no clue it was worth. It was not in a sleeve. We all like had to just immediately like move heaven and earth to get this guy a card sleeve and a top loader to put this in. And it's like, hey, like keep this card safe. Don't use it in your deck. Just like keep it. You could sell it or whatever if you want, but like it's worth a lot. So like, yeah. And his first thought is like, oh, okay, all right. He just puts it in his pocket. And I was like, wait, no, don't do that. We need to find like a bag or something. And it's just kind of funny to me that like it made me think, man, how many people have like opened these, sets like Ghosts from the Past or, Battles of Legend or whatever and pulled like the Starlight thing or, whatever super rare chase card and like didn't even know. I just don't know. They just like, whatever, okay, put it in my pocket or just like throw it in my deck. And like, it's just really interesting. Now, let's see, there was like one last story too, which was some guy I think was trying to build a, he wanted to like try to play a pendulum deck. Because he saw them and he was like, he thought like pendulums were kind of cool because they're monsters and spells. He didn't really like a load about it, but he played pendulum deck on Master Duel, which is pretty cool. And he wanted to build it in real life. I think it was like just Odd Eyes Performa Pal. And he was just saying like, oh man, if I like built this deck would cost me like over $50. And it's kind of like just this weird eye-opening moment for me where I was like, oh my God. In like Yugitube land, because you guys know, if you watch Yugitubers, $50 is like kind of considered the budget point. Like if a content creator makes a video where it's like 10 decks under $50, that's kind of like budget decks, right? And it's interesting because I almost didn't want to break to him the fact that like, man, dude, there are like cards that like one copy is $100, and it almost just makes you feel like this weird, I don't even know. It's just like, I don't know. So, yeah, those are just some interesting experiences that happened to me that kind of made me appreciate, the joy and beauty and fun of like kind of that ignorant bliss of like old school Yu-Gi-Oh. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that, these players, I hope that they can all enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh, like modern Yu-Gi-Oh for what it is. And I tried to help with that. One of the guys that I played against said he really liked Warriors and Dragons. That guy from the first example with the red and blue card sleeves. He's like, yeah, I really like Dragons. What would be like a dragon deck I could play? I directed him towards Dragon Maids because I feel like it's at least on the surface, a pretty simple thing. You know, the small dragons bounce, they summon a big one, they attack, and they bounce back. And I was like, yeah, you could try that out. I also said, of course, if you like Blue Eyes, there's plenty of Blue Eyes support. So, you know, trying to gently push people into the modern era of Yu-Gi-Oh! By giving them somewhere to start is really fun for me. That's actually something that I sort of want to try to do, perhaps in a video series of some kind. I've been sort of doing some tip videos over on TikTok and like Instagram Reels and things like that, YouTube Shorts. You may have seen the first one. It was about what zones to place your cards in. I want to like do a little bit more like that to just help like older players or just more or less experienced players that kind of learn more. So that was really fun. And one last thing I noticed too is that like a lot of people talked about how Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel got them back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And like they, you know, either like started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Because like they just saw Master Duel and that was what they did, or maybe they saw one of our videos. So I don't know. Yeah, old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Is pretty cool. New school Yu-Gi-Oh! Is pretty cool too. It's like a beautiful disaster at some times. There wasn't much of a point to this video. I just wanted to share these experiences, and maybe you guys can like let me know what you think about all of it. Any thoughts that come to mind, any experiences, similar things that you've had towards it. I guess my final little takeaway is just like, within our community, I think if you're really like tuned into all of this, it's easy to forget that there are people like competitive communities oftentimes make up only a small fraction of the total amount of like sales and like audience for a property, right? So like one of the common examples is like Super Smash Bros. They're very competitive Smash Bros. Players, but the vast majority of people playing Smash Bros. Are playing it as a party game with friends or family, and you know, just these crazy wild 4-player matches full of items and crazy characters and whatever. They don't care that much about like what characters are super broken and OP or what mechanics are, you know, stupid and don't work, and like this needs to be patched and this and that and the other. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Is really the same way. We can hyper fixate on like, you know, I hate the format right now, or like I hate all these short prints, or this card or archetype is so busted, like why do they print this, and you know, this and that, Konami needs to change this, they need to change that. But really, so many people don't even like know. They just are just happy to be here and just happy to have cards. So I don't know. I'm not, you know, blaming anybody. It's just how it is. So yeah. Okay, I've gone on long enough. That's pretty much it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, got something out of it. Maybe you can relate. I don't know. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Pass turn.